Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host, Mitch. Glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be a quick take. On episodes like these, I give you my initial take on a newly spoiled card or commander from an upcoming set. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. And while you're at it, subscribe and review our podcast as well. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio for the second time today. Yeah, that's right, we've got some more Jumpstart spoilers. Another commander was spoiled. So I'm going to do a quick take on this one. Again, in quick takes, I'm going to go through a potential kind of deck direction, cards to consider for that build, and maybe some reasonable upgrades to consider as well. So yeah, this is a really unique and cute and scary commander. So let's jump into Tinybones. So Tinybones, which is also just a very cute name as well. Tinybones Trinket Thief. A 1/2 skeleton rogue that costs 1 and a black and has at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discard a card this turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. And then pay 4 black. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. So let's break this commander down. Very cheap to get out, very easy to get out, and then benefits you whenever opponents discard cards, or at least at the end of each turn if opponents had discarded cards. So essentially, you know, there are plenty of ways in Magic to make players discard cards. Most of them happen on your turn, but there are ways to make your opponents discard cards on their turn as well. So you can get some card advantage again. It's going to be 1 life per card, essentially, that you're going to be drawing with that. But again, in Commander, you're always going to make that deal, essentially. You're just going to be drawing a lot of cards with this commander, making your opponents discard more cards, eventually getting it to the point where they have no cards left in their hand. And then you just pay, you know, 4 black, and every single opponent's going to lose 10 life that has no cards in hand. You know, and maybe if you've got enough mana, you can do that multiple times in the same turn to drain your opponents for a ton. So yeah, this card, or this commander can be, you know, your draw engine, your value engine, as well as your finisher too. So Tinybones, just a very cute and scary, you know, not necessarily because of the art, but because of the kind of many players, you know, fear kind of discarding cards in their hand, you know, losing kind of all the value that they've kind of gained throughout the game, and you kind of, you know, just taking that value away from them and gaining value yourself. And then, you know, when they're kind of at their worst, you know, if they got no cards in hand, no hope, you just start draining them. So yeah, this is it's gonna be a really fun commander. Let's jump into some cards that I would consider for this build. I would definitely do a, you know, discard tribal kind of deck, you know, and everything kind of about making your opponents discard cards, gaining you card advantage by having you draw cards, and then yeah, just making your opponents get to the point where they have no more cards in hand. Burglar Rat is a good example, kind of just a simple one. A 1/1 rat that costs 1 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. So yeah, 2 mana to make all your opponents discard a card. That's pretty good. You might maybe have some ways to recur this, to maybe, you know, if it dies, have it come right back out, you know, so you can get that ETB multiple times and abuse this. Yeah, you don't have really ways to kind of flicker or blink in black, but you do have ways to kind of, you know, get that ETB again. So there are some ways that you can do that with a couple of these creatures that do have ETBs like that. Again, this one's on your turn, so it does still apply. You are going to be drawing a card off of that. Dark Deal is another one that's going to be on your turn. It's a sorcerer that costs 2 and a black. It says each player discards all the cards in their hand and draws that many cards -1. So yeah, this can just, you know, take your opponents down even further. You know, maybe they've got some cards in their hand that they like. You take those away, and they get everything back -1, or everything back. They get to draw the same amount except for 1, -1. Anyways, this happens to you as well, but, you know, you're going to be gaining card advantage from it regardless, or at least kind of replacing that card that you're losing from it. Mind/Sliver is another one that you can actually use on your opponent's turns. It's a 1/1 sliver that costs a black. It has all slivers have pay 1, sacrifice this creature. Each player discards a card. So this is one that you can kind of save for when you need it. And again, this does affect you as well, but again, you're kind of replacing that card when you do make everyone discard. Eventually, you know, at the end of the turn, you will be able to draw a card from that. So yeah, being able to do things on opponent's turns can be crucial with this, because again, if you're just doing it on your turn, you're only be drawing, you know, 1 card per each turn cycle, which isn't terrible, but obviously drawing, you know, 2, 3, 4 cards per every turn cycle is a lot better. Now, these were some one-off effects, but kind of more repeatable effects can be better for this deck. So you kind of have guaranteed value, guaranteed, you know, forcing opponents to discard and guaranteed allowing you to draw. So Hypnotic Specter is a good example. It's a 2/2 Specter that costs 1 black. It's got flying, and then whenever it deals damage to an opponent, that player discards a card at random. Discarding at random is a lot better than allowing them to select, because you might just hit the card that they really don't want to discard. But also, it has flying, so it's got that evasion and get through usually on at least one of your opponents. In pretty much every single one of your turns, you're going to be able to get this through, making them discard, and then you're going to get value out of that. Grill Mindraker is one that you can actually use on your opponent's turns. It's a 3/3 Spell Shaper that costs 3 black. You can pay X and a black and tap it to discard 2 cards from your hand, and target player discards X cards at random from their hand. You do have to discard 2 cards to activate this, but with the amount of card advantage that you're going to be gaining from your commander, you should be able to activate this plenty. And again, you can basically just make someone discard, their entire hand with this essentially, or at least, have them randomly discard a ton of cards out of their hand. So they're probably going to be left with pretty much nothing. Now, the next one's a really brutal card, and one that can really make this deck work really well. Work really well with the commander. That's Bottomless Pit. It's an enchantment for 1 black. It says during each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random. So again, yeah, random. That can be brutal. And also, this is every single turn. So basically, if your commander's in play, yeah, every single player is going to be discarding a card. It does affect you. But again, you're going to be replacing that card. Your opponents aren't going to be so lucky. So every single turn, you're guaranteed to basically draw a card, lose 1 life, and draw a card. But yeah, fantastic card for this deck. Another one that is somewhat similar is Gibbering Dissent. It's an enchantment for 4 black, but it does have madness for 2 black, which you probably will be able to almost always cast it for with this deck. It says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life and discards a card. And it's got Hellbent. Skip your upkeep step if you have no cards in hand. So if you have no cards in hand, which probably won't happen with this commander, because again, you're kind of working to draw cards off your opponent's discarding, you can skip your upkeep step. But basically, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, again, they're going to be losing life and discarding a card. So this doesn't do it at random, like Bottomless Pit. But again, it's another kind of great, repeatable, or not repeatable, I guess. But yeah, it's always a continuous kind of upkeep effect for everyone. So it's going to basically guarantee you that value, that card draw from your commander. Even something as simple as Gyreach Sanitarium can be great for this deck. It's a legendary land that taps for colors, so you can pay 2 and tap, and each player draws a card and discards a card. So yeah, basically, you're going to be, everyone's going to be looting. But again, you're going to get to draw an extra card off of that because all your opponents are discarding a card, and you can use this whenever is most beneficial to you. Now, on top of your commander being able to finish off your opponents, by paying that 4 black and draining your opponents if they have no cards in hand, other cards can come in really handy. There are a lot of effects in black that can punish players for discarding cards or not having cards in their hand. So Megrim is a good example. It's an enchantment for 2 and a black. It says whenever an opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to that player. Now, there are a lot of other effects. I'm not going to mention them all that do pretty much the exact same thing or something similar. But yeah, I mean, every single time you're forcing your opponents to discard cards, they're going to be getting hit by Megrim and kind of any other effects that you have. So yeah, they're not only being punished for losing cards in their hand, but they're also being, drained for it as well. Wheel of Torture is another one. It's an artifact that costs 3. It says during each of your opponent's upkeeps, Wheel of Torture deals 1 damage to that player for each card fewer than 3 in their hand. So if they've got no cards in their hand, that's 3 damage every single one of their upkeeps. So yeah, this is a fantastic card to include in the deck as well. There's some other similar cards as well, so look out for those. Quest Within a Hillstone is an enchantment for a black. It says whenever an opponent discards a card, you may put a quest counter on Quest Within a Hillstone. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand and Quest Within a Hillstone has 2 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 5 life. So again, essentially, once you get players to that state where they have no cards in their hand, this is another way to kind of really drain them. 5 life each turn. Plus, if you can pay that 4 black to drain them for 10, that can be a lot of life that they're losing each turn. It's going to be hard for them to stay alive. Now, there's also going to be some cards that can help you give some, let's call them discard benefits, basically. So basically, when either you or other players discard cards, certain things are going to happen. Sangromancer is a great one. It's a 3/3 vampire shaman with flying that costs 2 black. It says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life. So yeah, you can definitely gain life when your opponent's creatures die, but more importantly, when you're forcing your opponents to discard cards, you are gaining life. This is definitely going to make up for the fact that, you're going to be losing life with your commander, so that can be huge. Another one that works even better than your commander when it comes to drawing cards is Guess Grimoire. It's an artifact for 4, and it says whenever an opponent discards a card from their hand, you may draw a card. So yeah, this is going to draw you an absurd amount of cards throughout the game. Even just, one singular spell like that Burglar Rat earlier, that, when it comes into play, each of your opponents discards a card. That means you're going to be drawing 3 cards, again, assuming there's 3 opponents in play. But yeah, you're going to be drawing a ton of cards with this on top of what your commander's already drawing. Mono Black's got plenty of ways to generate a lot of mana. Something like a Bubbling Muck could come in huge as a finisher to allow you to pour a lot of mana into your commander's activated ability. That's a source that costs a black and says, until the end of the turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, it produces an additional black. So basically kind of like a mana doubler essentially for a turn for swamps. Yeah, so there's a lot of different kind of discard synergies that can really work well with this, as well as kind of big mana synergies that can really kind of put it over the top. So once you get your opponents down to having no cards in hand, you can easily finish them off. Some reasonable upgrades to consider. There are a lot of them, actually. Liliana's Caress is just a straight-up better Megrim. It is an enchantment that costs 1 in a black, and it just does the exact same thing, essentially. It costs 1 less mana. I believe it's like a $4 or $5 card, though, where Megrim is like a couple cents or whatnot. Waste Not is a fantastic one for this deck. It's just one that can generate you an absurd amount of value. It's an enchantment for 1 in a black. It says, whenever an opponent discards a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add black to your mana pool. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. Yeah, this can give you an absurd amount of value, making you a lot of tokens, generating you a lot of mana, drawing you even more cards. This thing just fits in perfectly for the deck. One that is pretty brutal, that would really fit well in this deck is Painful Quandary. It's an enchantment for 3 black. It says whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. So yeah, it's going to be a tough decision for that opponent whenever they cast spells, but that's why it's called Painful Quandary. And one that doesn't even give them kind of an option is Oppression. Oppression's an enchantment that costs 1 black, and it says whenever a player plays a spell, that player discards a card from their hand. So yeah, that doesn't even give them the option that Painful Quandary does. It says, yeah, no, you're just discarding a card. So essentially, your opponents are going to do that discard work for you by when they cast spells. They basically have to discard, and then you get that benefit from your commander. So yeah, Lucky Bones, Tinybones. Yeah, maybe Unlucky Bones for your opponent. Tinybones is a really kind of unique new commander, kind of takes a nice new spin on kind of a discard synergy commander, one that can provide a lot of value to throughout the game, and then also be a great finisher as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this commander. What do you think about the cards that I picked? Were there certain cards that I missed? What direction would you take this commander? So yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks again and have a good one. And make sure you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons who help make this show possible. I truly couldn't do any of this without your support. If you want to support this channel directly, consider becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There are even tiers where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. You can check out all the Patreon tiers and rewards at patreon.com/commandersquarters. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about budget commander. So while you're at it, go ahead and check out some of our other types of episodes. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again and have a good one.